historically at the Pony Express and the introduction of the post office, at mail-order catalogs, which are kind of weirdly the precursor to e-commerce on the internet. If you look at boats, planes, trains, every time people have introduced a way to more efficiently move physical things around in the world.
He radicalized the Bauhaus Design School in 1920s Germany, and yet some of his former colleagues shunned him when he struggled to open a new Bauhaus in Chicago years later.
When I was a student at Curtin University majoring in theatre and scriptwriting, my fellow students and I had a theory that we'd never have to pay off our HECS debt because no one would ever employ us anyway.
In England, prices rose by 4,255% between 1971 and 2011. If the price of a supermarket chicken had inflated by the same rate, it would cost £51.18 by now.
Understand that the most important religion there, in a lot of ways, is football, or what we would call soccer. Go to the soccer stadium. Go to the football stadium. It could be a little tiny stadium in a tiny town, or a big, huge game. But you'll learn a lot about Italy when you go to the national
Bloomberg administration, after his proposed West Side Stadium for the Jets had failed.
I love to eat down and dirty with the locals. I like a restaurant that's only open Monday through Friday at lunch. There's some of my very favorite restaurants are only open Monday through Friday at lunch. What's the deal? They're just for workers. And they're only open when workers are looking for lunch, you see. Now, having said that, it is fun to go to nice restaurants, fancy places, and in this case, if you can find a restaurant which is personality-driven, it's got the man's name. I mean, this is him. You know, it's you know, Pepe's Trattoria or whatever. You know, Pepe cares about this. His mom's cooking in the back. The kids are serving and washing. It's just a family show.
Just one point on the malls. The top quality malls, the top quality in terms of stores, location, etc., they're doing great. And they're going to continue to do great. Even if, you know, there is a recession, they'll continue to do well because the people shopping there aren't abandoning the malls for e-commerce, and they're not going to stay home. I think those malls will continue to do well. The question is, in the entire industry, it's whether the strip mall on a highway in Kansas, whether that mall will continue to stay in business. As you know, what I said to you in the room is that you have a website called deadmalls.com, which measures, you know, which malls are going out of business and notifies you every day which malls go out.
I have children who live in Denver, and I will pass malls which are dead malls because they had retailers who are no longer able to exist.
Right.
In 1915, on the eve of one of the great suffrage demonstrations down Fifth Avenue in New York City, a writer in New York wrote an article in a magazine. And the title of the article was Feminism for Men. And this was the first line. And then we replaced those sponges of vegetation with pavement of streets, buildings, and compacted bare earth, which leads to much more flooding because now the water runs off those hard surfaces much more quickly than it did before.
To William Hornaday, who was the zoo director, who was also the founder of the National Zoo in Washington, D.C.
And who hated that it was called the Bronx Zoo.
Well, hated. Oh, my God. It was the New York Zoological Gardens. You know, these were high-minded people, right? But Samuel Werner was actually trying to sell a chimpanzee. He needed money. He was out of money. The sheriff was after him for bouncing checks in New York.
Why travel? Well, the hero's journey, right? This map that describes a departure from the ordinary, leaving normal thoughts behind. Treading forth in a new environment, dealing with conflict. And the departure monitors in the airports listing all those destinations. As Alain de Botton cites in his book, The Art of Travel, we look upon those screens and we think to ourselves, London, Amsterdam, Prague, Berlin, Mozambique, South Africa, whatever it may be, it's anywhere else but here.
comes to meet you in this coffee shop in London, and she's in this sari and this big coat, and you think, well, she's had to take the tube to come here, and now...
The gas station has definitely become the third component to the Imogene and Willie brand. Imogene, Willie, the gas station.
Created a courtesy shuttle, goes directly across the bridge to the express subway station, and in less than 15 minutes they're in Midtown Manhattan for the cost of one fare on the New York City subway. It is a way of addressing what people want, which is that ability to have easy access. And
Majority of the visitors to Amsterdam think of these sites as the must-see sites. Why? Because they're right there advertised at the train station, in the hotel lobby, on the main drag.
The day we met, we were passing each other in Azadi Square and we bumped shoulders. And I turned to apologize, and she, without saying hello or introducing herself or anything, said, "Well, why do you think we just didn't pass through each other?" And first of all, I thought, who the hell are you? But second, the question annoyed me because the answer is so simple.
Perished. So you can imagine the emotion in the room, the emotion that I felt personally. And what I said to the group at that time was, first, we have to evacuate the building.
And you had to take everyone out of Battery Park.
That's right. Is that process in place? Fortunately, we had had a dry run that was just fortuitous several months ago, and that went flawlessly.
A Literature Award from the American Academy of Arts and Letters, the Leipzig Award for European Understanding, and the Hannah Arendt Prize in Political Thought.
They decide to open up an auto repair shop for fancy cars because they drive fancy cars. So they'll take their last dollars that they have and make that work, and it doesn't work.
If you go to an amusement park and don't want to stand in the long lines for the popular rides, there is now a solution.
In the laundromat, ordinary women talked revolution. We knew we wouldn't live forever, but it seemed as if we could.
Angry with me when they heard about this, that they cornered me in the parking lot of my school, threw me up against a car, and my best friend, nose to nose with me, said, "If you ever do this again, you will answer us."
Job, basically to me it was a little like a clown car at a circus. Someone got out and they went running around the track waving their hands, and then they left.
Is that I found my way into people's homes and into people's offices, like this woman who was a secretary at the Korean Central News Agency with her little aquarium full of fish.
Less likely to be put on medication, more likely to go to the gym. Report higher levels of marital satisfaction.
Contrast that with the typical experience in the hospital setting. Much like this, floodlit room lined with tubes and beeping machines and blinking lights that don't stop even when the patient's life has.
Imagine how much money you'd have in your bank account today, how much more money I should say, if Warren Buffett was teaching you how to invest in the stock market, showing you what he used to build Berkshire Hathaway into a $140 billion company.
I walked 3 blocks to the fire station and stood in line for over 40 minutes to cast my ballot for people I did.
To deal with the corporate travel agency, I had to plan a trip from Seattle, where I was working. I had to stop in Denver. I had to go to Buffalo, New York, to Denver.